Alexa, turn the van lights on. That's better. So today we're going to start drilling the hole through for the waste feed, and we're going to go through the bottom of our cabinet and then ultimately through our floor. We haven't drilled anything yet. There's some complications in that we've already built the entirety of this cabinet. We have a few supports for things like the sink and then the side wall of the cabinet, and we've already got our back panel in. Plus we have got some cabling down the back there that we don't want to hit by coming up through the floor rather than going down. We've basically come up with, we think we're going to drill here and come out nicely for our tank, in front of our tank. So you can see that our tank is here in the normal position that a waste tank would be, sort of behind the driver. This cross, hopefully, outside wall of the cabinet that I showed you just then should be there, and then the front of the strut that's running across should be there. So we should end up with a hole just here, which works quite well because then we can have the feed coming down and straight to this. Fingers crossed that works. Bottom, and we are nowhere near the cables, which is good. So we have managed to drill the hole for our bit of ducting that's going to go through, and we've drilled a pilot hole where we think that it should go through to the floor. We're pretty confident that is the correct place, sort of above ground if you like, for the cabinet. Just gone round to the bottom underneath the van to see if it fits, so let's go have a look. And pretty much it's come out, you know, within a centimetre of where we thought it was going to come out. I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do is, I think we're pretty happy with the hole positioning, and we're going to go through it with the actual hole saw now. So yeah, wish us luck. Basically what we've got here is a really simple way you can get your pipework through the bottom of your van. All I've used here is different types of pipe fitting, and in one case some actual pipework. All I did was I reamed out a little ridge on the inside so that the pipework could fit through nicely. All I've done is I've threaded the pipework through that so that it provides a little bit of protection against the sharp metal edge. So it should be a snug fit. Take it back a bit. I think we'd be better off going there, because then I can now get an angle on the pipe. So when installing it, all I do is I paint with Hammerite to protect the raw metal edges. Then I apply on the inside where the insulation is and the wood is a really thick coat of adhesive sealant. I then just get the back end of a paintbrush and I smooth down the edges, and to make sure that no water can penetrate through that edge. Now that we have got the clean water tank plumbed in, it is underslung, connected up to the fill point, and the fill point works. It is connected to the drain off tap, that works, and it is connected to our supply pipe feed. We don't know if that works, but at least it's connected up and it's all holding water. It is watertight. Then we've got our grey tank fitted, that's underslung nicely. We've got our waste pipe feeding down through the floor, drilled through the floor, and we've also got our drain off tap, or our waste emptying tap. That's all connected up. Now what we need to do is two things. We need to move on to the pump and accumulator. They arrived yesterday, so get them all plumbed in. And then also to plumb in the bottom of the sink, because at the minute there is just a hole where the drain should be. So for anyone who hasn't gone through all this before, there are some abbreviations that you'll see, one of which is BSP. That is British Standard Piping. And then there is BSPP, and then there is BSPS, and they are, despite the fact that they may say they are 1 inch, 2 inch, half inch, whatever, they are not. They're measured differently, and the sizes are ever so slightly different. It's like 15mm push fit pipe versus a 15mm speed fit pipe or a 15mm compression fit. Despite the fact they're all called 15mm, they're not actually 15mm. I would recommend anyone who is looking to do their plumbing, who hasn't done plumbing before, to read up on the differences between pipe sizes and fitting types. Despite something saying they are a, say, half inch, not all the fittings fit together. It's always worth doing your due diligence before you start, otherwise you're going to buy a load of fittings, spend a lot of money because you can't return them because you've already used them, and compromise the seal, which is obviously the important part. So yeah, just be careful on that. If you have a particularly helpful screw fix or plumb base or whatever, go in there and ask them, because despite knowing a fair amount, I went in there and I looked like an idiot because he was able to tell me all sorts of things that I had just got wrong. Negative, positive, positive. So, in theory, when we turn this switch, 3, 2, 1. Aha! Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Momentous step now. We've done all the wiring up for the switch for the pump. Pump's got power. Plumbing is all tightened up to the tap. We haven't got waste in just yet, so we're going to collect it in a bucket. We've tested that the pump runs on the switch and isolates if we need to in emergency, but we've just filled up the tank, so hopefully this goes well and we don't spring too many leaks. Yeah. And it's apparently pressurised.
Okay, can I do the tap?
I'm hoping that when we turn this tap, we'll see a load of air come out, a load of spluttering, and then we'll actually have a running tap.
We're just taking this off so that if there's anything like in the system, it doesn't go into that filter.
Nothing leaking down there, it seems. And when you turn the tap off, that stops. God, that was a lot of water.
There's a lot of, yeah.
So this is our sort of jerry-rigged setup at the minute, which is just a bucket in the sink to collect the water, because we currently have just a loose waste pipe. When we turned the water on, we saw 3 leaks in total. Now they weren't bad leaks, they were just like tiny little drips. One which was on the specific SureFlow connector in between the accumulator and the pump. I think that was just resolved by tightening it up a little bit, to be honest. There was one on the pressured side of the outflow of the accumulator, and again all I did was take the hose off of the barb tail, do it in some hot water and then tighten it up with a Jubilee clip, which managed to fix that one. However, this has been a bit of an issue. Our flexi hose coming down from our tap. Now what we've done, which is similar to most people, to prevent sort of stagnant water sitting in our hot tap when we don't have hot water, is just to put a Y piece in and connect the two together really. But this one, for some reason, was just constantly leaking despite how much tightening we did of the hose, of the Jubilee clip. So I know you're not supposed to use PTFE tape on these because they do have a washer at the top, a rubber washer. but it just wasn't stopping leaking however tight I did it. So I've added some PTFE tape on this one. This one's fine. What I did check was to make sure that this part that we've got from a 1/2 inch BSP to 12mm barbed was actually a flat top, because if it's not a flat top, if it's spiked slightly, then it can cut into the washer and cause a leak. So I took everything apart, checked that it was fine, which it was, it's flat top, and just put some PTFE tape around it, and that has managed to resolve it. We've tested it a few times, it works well. The final thing we've done is a straight through 12mm, just straight through piece connector, is actually where our valve used to be. Now we got this valve just off of Amazon, which is a 1/4 inch or 12mm valve, just a ball valve really. Unfortunately this was leaking, but it wasn't leaking in the normal spots where you tighten the hose onto. It was actually leaking out of the spindle, and that just meant that basically the valve's knackered and we had to take it out. It was there for maintenance purposes, but actually having taken this apart 3 or 4 times now, to be perfectly honest, having a valve there wasn't really that helpful. If I need to emergency stop water, I'm just going to hit the pump power button rather than using this. There's no real benefit to having that at least under the sink, maybe further back, but it was leaking anyway, so we got rid of it. So when you live in Reading, you find bottle cans, chewing gum and stuff like that on the floor. When you move up near the seaside, you find this on the floor. There's a crab claw. Lovely. Time to get going on the waste system. Under here, you've just got our waste pipe coming up straight from the tank, and I've got a tail really just coiling, so I'll cut it down to whatever I need. Now what we need to do is go and get a trap of some kind. So there are a few options. You can either get a P trap, a bottle trap, or an S trap. If you're a plumber, then there are other traps that you can get, but simply there's those 3. There is a very finite space in here. In fact, I'll show you. Realistically, what I'm going to need to do is get something that fits in between here, here and here, that doesn't take up all of this space, because we want a bin here. The issue we may run into is that the sink plug hole is around about here. We need to get some fittings that fit between here and here that don't really kind of take up all of this space. Now we're just going to run out to like Screwfix or something, but there could be an issue with the connection between the waste hose, the black waste hose, and the general plumbing that comes out the bottom of the sink, because the sink is a household sink. It's not a camper van sink or anything like that. And then we're going into normal household waste fittings, which are generally speaking 40mm, and then going into what is a pond fitting. The parts that came with this sink, which is, to be perfectly honest, is pretty naff. What we did was we took this into our local Wolseley, who are actually really super helpful in Wales, and fortunately enough, it turns out that fitting is actually a standard fitting. So we got a replacement one, which is much better. As you can see, it's a standard household fitting, and it also comes with a sort of basket and a plug, which the other one didn't do. And then we initially got this P-trap. However, unfortunately, what we had planned doesn't quite fit. So if you do it that way, it collides with the wall, and if you do it this way, it collides with either the front or back support. So we were going to have to cut something out. We were going to have to notch something out, which we didn't really want to do. So instead, what we decided to do was get rid of this P-trap and replace it with an S-trap. Now this S-trap is handy because you can either have it fully like an S and have it low profile that way, so long ways, or you can bend it back on itself like that, and then it's more like a bottle trap. And now we have sort of more control over where this fitting comes out to, and we can line it up nicely with our waste hose. Like I said earlier, these are different sizes, so you've got 40mm household fittings and then this 50mm pipe. So we bought some of this 40mm plastic pipe. It was like a 3 metre length, and we didn't need like about that much. What we're going to do, again, they were really helpful in Wolseley. I took this in, just a little cut off of that pipe, and I said we need an adapter that will fit inside here. There is obviously no real specific adapter for that. So what they did was they suggested that we get some 40mm solvent weld join, which is going to go over like that, And then what we can do is slip that over, and then I can put one of my wire clamps on there like I've done with the pipes on the tank. So we'll have the S-trap coming down into this pipework, then we're going to have the solvent weld on the bottom, and then that is just going to, we're going to actually attach that, and then that will be slipped in there like that and attached. So we've got these fittings sort of rudimentarily put in at the minute. Like I said, we're going with the S fitting, so that into a flexi bit, so that it sort of brings it over the top of our waste pipe, which we've now cut down. What this is just a bit of pipe here, which is in a compression fitting, then with a solvent weld connector, straight connector on top of it to kind of bulk it out a little bit. And then that will allow us to bring that down into here. And what we're going to do, although we've got a wire clamp here, which will probably tighten it up enough that there won't be any air gap between here, because we're not worried about it being watertight, because it obviously is only going to flow that way. But if there is any air gap, then smells are going to come out of here. So the water trapped in the S-trap here will prevent smells coming out of the plug hole, but if there's any kind of broken seal around here, then we're just going to get smells coming out of this way. So what I'm going to do is, before I connect all of this up, I'm going to put some of this just sealant in, just the sticks like stuff. Just put it around the edge here, and then put it into the hose, and then when I tighten it up, it's obviously going to tighten down, but any gaps that were there are just going to be sealed by that stuff, and then we hopefully won't get any smells. Oh, holy crap. There's a lot of swarf. Whew. I need some sleeves. In fact, actually, I'm going to wear some gloves. Oh. Clean water tank plumbed in the sense that, excuse me. What we did was we got a length of 50mm pipe, like this.
That's 40mm.
What did I say?
50.
Oh, okay. We bought some of this 50mm pipe.
No, you said it again.
Oh, f***'s sake. So we bought some of this 40mm plastic pipe.